Hi, Juilliard. My name is Mario Alberto Zambrano. I am the Associate Director of the Dance Division at Juilliard. I am speaking to you today from a good friend of mine's studio, Izar Patkin. He's an artist in New York in the East Village, and this is where I'm living these days under this quarantine period. I would like to share with you a few minutes of a class that is going to be a juxtaposition of a bit of ballet, bar, combined with some choreographic thinking. So I'm going to give you some tools to think about how to take traditional form and sort of augment it in a way that can invite choreographic thinking, imaginative thinking, and exercise an astute awareness for form and improvisation. So we're going to begin with just a simple warm-up, and in this warm-up I will already start to introduce some pockets of opportunity for improvisation. Please take this in the way that is most helpful to you. It's information. In thinking about contemporary authorship, I realize how I've been approaching the development of so many techniques and disciplines and styles in the dance field throughout all of time. And my sentiment is echoed also from my investment and devotion to literature and creative writing, and it's similar to the progression of novels. You know, when a novel is published, it is novel, it is new to the discussion of what has been said and what has been discussed in literature. And I think in dance, every choreographer, every dance maker, every dancer contributes to the conversation that's going on in the dance field. And what I've recognized and witnessed in the field is a contemporary authorship that is a juxtaposition, an amalgamation of so many languages and so many approaches. And I like to try to become and represent and practice a juxtaposition of all of these languages, because I think they have so much to offer. There's so many places where they overlap and they are similar, and of course there are things that make them each distinct. So, without further ado, let's begin. Let's just start with our feet hip-width apart and give into our legs a little bit. Feel our heels onto the floor. Feel our arms in front of us. You can extend your arms. Take a deep breath. Feel rooted in your heels and pressing away from the floor. Enjoy the vertical line of your spine. Already feel the length of your spine extending outward to the top of your head and down to the heels of your feet. Have a soft chest and enjoy the verticality and the horizontality of your arms. Take your palms down and just close your eyes for a second. Take a deep inhale. And exhale. Feel the length. Feel your arms elastic, stretching out, softening your legs. And bringing the arms down, let's just warm up the feet, prancing 1, 2, 3, 4, taking the arms 5, 6, open, 7, and 8. And coming into first, plie. Out. Just feeling the backs of the knees press against each other. The lower abdominals pulling up. Make sure you're not swaying in your lower back, but really lifting up. Rib cages and out. Nice and fine. Almost as though your back is against a wall. So you really feel that planal surface above you, to the side, behind your legs. And keeping that position as we do a port de bras over. Find the horizontal end and the vertical of your arms. And feel a little bit more stretch as the right arm port de bras over, plie, dropping the head, and taking the arms out to second. If you fall, it's okay. And
And same thing, left side, finding the vertical line of the arms. Feel like something's dripping down the bottom arm. Feel the top arm reaching towards the sky or the ceiling. And keeping that length, port all the way around. Plie and out to second. Same thing, second position. Let's just soften in our hips a little bit. Demi-plie. Soften in the shoulders. As you soften the hips down into plie, come into first. Pushing away from the feet and the floor. Again, don't sway your back. Feel the long vertical and horizontal line of the arms. And plie as you come down. Try to match the same line with the arms. See if you can match that. If you don't, see how much more you can give to match that circular port de bras. And up, nice and wide. Make sure you rotate from the tops of the hips, pressing up, pushing far away from the floor, taking the arms up, feeling the wall behind your back and your elbows, soft neck, plie, and back to first. And just shake your legs. And shake your shoulders. So something I recognize a lot is, especially in ballet class from a lot of students, is how form is static. And one of the great enriching opportunities that dance offers us is the ability and the invitation to sculpt the body, to sculpt the form so that it is a representation of hard work and also of detail. But in doing so, there's a habit that we fall into in that we keep the form almost inside of the skin, instead of feeling form as an experience of emanating outside of the skin. So it's away from you. So just do the arms with me. Just do first and fifth and second and down. And first, just the right arm comes up and second and down. Left arm goes up and out and down. Of course, we can also reverse those things. Everything can be reversed, which is a lot of fun. So just play with these arms, and now allow yourself to manipulate them, to rearrange them in space. And go ahead and start to turn your corners and go in different directions so that your body starts to try to understand what it can do under these circumstances. And mind you, all of that just started with port de bras, but let's return to something very basic in terms of our directions. So on face, forward, arms in second, side, arabesque, derriere, derriere right behind you, arms up. If we're quasi-fifth, cross arm out. Now if we were to return to our first position on face, then shift into tendu croisé with our arms in fourth. We have this top direction, this diagonal direction, and then this diagonal down direction. So let's just mark, for now, simple, familiar directions. We have forward, we have side, we have back, we have up, down, we have our two familiar front corners, diagonals, that also extend to its opposite, to its counter. So now, if we were doing port de bras on this plane, on this wall, and now let's just shift and consider doing port de bras on this wall. And shift this way. Wah, 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 wah. You get the drift. But what if I wanted to do a port de bras on this wall and a port de bras on this wall and continue that makeup without stopping, even if I make a mistake? How could I continue to do port de bras that are familiar to, I just messed it all up because I couldn't direct and demonstrate at the same time. So, just gonna play a little bit of music, and I will lead you through this simple port de bras improvisation. But let's first go from first and plie at first, plie at first, and down, just the right arm, and out, up and out. Find the diagonal, plie, up and out. Let's just reverse that. In and out. Here. Very familiar to Graham technique. Here's what I mean by sort of etymology of languages. Other side. And then horizontal, front, down, up, diagonal, reverse, reverse, over, up. Now, just like in port de bras, what happens when the arms, the arms suggest a port de bras that the torso follows. So you're almost in a system of diagonal and front and vertical directions that lead you into spirals in the back, clarity of where your arms are, and this idea of extending out. So you're not mechanical, and you're making, but you're lending yourself. If you go to fifth position, let's just do a port de bras. We're extending towards that right arm, extending towards that right arm, also to the back. Okay, so now that we've covered port de bras in multiple directions, and thinking about that planal surface that you're drawing on the wall, the invisible wall that you draw against or draw on, is also something I want to add to that is your épaulement, the relationship of your head to your arms. So if you're in quasi arabesque, and you're feeling the elasticity of your arms, both in your leg and your arms. If you're facing me, you just touch your chin with both fingertips. And your chin, think of an imaginary line from your chin to your shoulder. So you have this elastic line from your chin to your shoulder, and then another elastic line between shoulders. You can feel, as you take your chin away from the opposite shoulder, there's a little bit of elasticity. It's not too taut, it can give, but you feel that engagement. So if one arm was in front of you, or whatever arm is in its position that you find yourself in a period of, when you're improvising, being able to recognize and be aware of that triangular space and how you can relate your hand, not your hand, your head, to that arm and included with the elasticity of the arm going through the chest is a possibility. So something to think about when you're starting to accumulate different details that you want to be aware of. So now moving on to the legs. So ideally you want to try to engage with an idea, with imaginative thinking, using all of your body. So let's just come back into first and find your identity points. Plie, and stretch your toes. That feels comfortable. That never really felt comfortable to me, but you know it's a movement of pleasure for many of you. So in the same idea of elasticity in your arms, of reaching out and from one end reaching out, from the opposite end reaching the opposite direction. When in first position, when we tendu out. Here's another example that I recognize in a lot of students' work in ballet class. When they go into tendu, or they do a tendu, they perform a tendu, it ends at the end of the toes and it ends at the top of the hip. Rather than feeling that that line is a part of an elasticity that is current and can reach out, but also can pull in. And so out, in, in. And you can play with that in the knees, though it's anatomically a little bit more tricky. Same thing in arabesque. If you were in arabesque, to find the elasticity of the standing leg going through the heel of the foot, engaging the lower abdominals, because that would cut the line of the elasticity. Pulling up through the lower abdominals, reaching out through the toe, and finding that space of elasticity in your legs. And if we were thinking about directions before, up, down, forward, back, side, side, diagonals, diagonals, now what's to say when we're in tendu, the possibility of lengthening out, side, side, up, down, up, forward, side, back, in terms of how we were falling into the arms for the port de bras. And something else I want to add, sometimes we do this at the beginning of ballet class. For an Alice Cone, standing at the bar, we'll do a rotation in, we'll do a rotation out. We'll do tendu out, rotate in, tendu out, close first. So anytime your legs are out, find that they can also rotate. So we're now thinking of tendu out, rotate, rotate, tendu out, rotate, rotate, tendu out, rotate, rotate, tendu out, rotate, rotate. Let the arms be free, because now that you're playing with rotations, your balance will be compromised, and that's okay. So let's try to add that to Okay, I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're enjoying the class so far. There's something I want to say about different approaches to improvisation. A lot of
it's a conversation that I think is important to continue having. There is not one toolbox or one set of approaches that is improvisation. I think improvisation is an open platform for so many different approaches, however you'd like to approach it, whether that be a sort of calculated approach. So if you're using math and science to approach imaginative thinking, I think that is welcomed and supported by all means. But also if you're interested in sensorial research or sort of the experiential nature of artistic improvisation, and by that I mean transcribing your imagination in the moment and allowing whatever comes from that experience an acknowledgement of instinct and percussion and quality, which is what I wanted to mention. There are different qualities of movement that can inform and also modify what you're doing in your work, whether it be in ballet and you're researching a few things between exercises, or whether you're in a room, in a studio working on your own. And so something that I would like to mention is that quality is of extreme importance, and also rhythm. And so once you start to identify or make decisions of how you want to approach a certain movement project or a certain improvisational session, to then look for relationships with music, with syncopation, with adagio, whatever it might be, to break your habit of comfort or what is familiar to you, which is important in the first few drafts of your writing, of your manuscript, if you're working on something. And that is entirely up to you, whether you're improvising for the sake of writing in your journal, or if you're improvising for the sake of making or working on a manuscript, something you would like to share with the greater public. So for this last round, I would like to just review briefly what we were talking about. So we're going to work again from the convention and tradition of ballet. So bring any ballet vocabulary that you would like to explore or experience or practice into this. But we have these directional port de bras, these rotations, and these elastic pathways in the body, along with falling into port de bras. But now, I just want to pick up the speed. So I'm going to play a bit of music. I'm not going to speak much, because I too am going to fall into the research and hopefully demonstrate. But this is an opportunity to also just start bringing everything together. And I will, when I begin, kind of review in an embodied way what we've done.
glide. I'm going to add one thing to pick up the body, to give it something to recognize. So just bounce for a second. Tombe papare, tombe papare, tombe papare. Change feet back. Tombe papare, tombe papare. Those directions that we were working on with the arms now can be taken with the tombe padre. So you can tombe padre forward or back on any diagonal. Have fun. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a lovely day, and be safe, be well, and wash your hands.